want it to broke up GCOM? Because it's not acting in the best interest of the citizens and their vote?
Because your money down, you come with conniving money. Then you had your pocket full, and I've been tell me money. Now because your money down, you hustle for tell me money.
Yes, money, never
money, never money. Money, never money. Money, now don't want you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. That's all the money that me walk for.
I said money, never
money, never money. Money, never money. Money, I don't want you conniving money.
Oh, Joseph.
For me.
I invoke the WPA's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government, and on that grounds I refuse to participate in the interview. The question and struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese. at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Brickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop, David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Quinton Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
21st day of April in the year 2023. Yeah, we're gonna talk with man. We got a lot of things to talk about this morning. How was it yesterday, man? Yesterday was a Thursday. Yeah, Thursday supposed to be a happy day. Yeah, I made some money yesterday. How much money I make? How much money y'all sit back and watch the government sign away with its friends and cronies yesterday? Right? Strange things are happening yesterday in this country also. I think I saw a video with glass falling off of the Pegasus News Suite. Remember I was telling you yesterday, as we talk about the PPP and by Jagdeo wanting to sell the Marriott, that Pegasus had just completed the construction of a brand new wing, if I can call it that. I think they call it a corporate center, right? Where they're hosting a lot of big timers, them big international organizations and corporations and businesses headquarters and so on. Yeah. I saw a video on social media yesterday, a citizen filmed it, showing glass falling off of the Pegasus. We gotta be careful, eh? One of the things you always have to pay attention to is where you situate property, especially in this period of global warming as we talk about. It's strange that we talk about global warming and the champion of dirt, but Jagdeo chose that he wants to build right on the seashore of Sparendam, Pleasant Sparendam there. So sometimes you want to know if this thing is a gaff. Global warming and climate change. Because the people who are championing the very thing are the people you see are putting themselves right in the path of what is presumed to be the disaster zone. Right? So those are things we have to pay attention to. They say is in this society, in most societies, it is do as I say, not as I do. Right? Some people believe they got all the wisdom or all the smarts. So they tell you things, whether as a scare factor or not, but then when you look closer, you realize these very things that they try to tell you not to do are the very things they are doing. Right? Good. So those are things to consider. How about your safety? What are the long-term effects of certain actions? And yesterday I indicated to you one long-term effect you must consider is the fact that when your government or the people who are masquerading as your government sign on to a deal, a loan for $100 million in your name, you will pay the debt. Your next generation will pay the debt. Right? And your next generation will pay the debt. So in short, what we are allowing these people to do is shackle us with debt. But when they shackle us with debt, who are the beneficiaries? We are. You see, it's time, and I see Sylvia Nelson saying, let Jagdeo grab everything, all of the country's resources. He's going to die and live on. That's the simplistic view. That is one of the things which has us where we are as a people. Because we so believe that debt ends it all. While many of us, especially Afro-Guyanese, believe, good Christians believe that debt, well, even good Christians shouldn't believe that debt ends it all. Because the good book tells you whether you're going to spend eternity in eternal damnation, as in hell, are you going to live off the streets of milk and honey, as in heaven? So that doesn't end it all. But certainly the other people, your opponents, I can speak surely for the Hindus. They believe in reincarnation. And so they believe when they die to come again. Sometimes it's just a change of form. And certainly they believe the richer they are, the closer they are to God. And you're seeing it, the richer they are, the closer they are to God in terms of the way they behave. They believe that they're gods. They command and they demand and they dictate and they do all as what they like and please. Right? But the reality is, that doesn't end it all. And I'm moving away from talking about the spiritual realm in this instance, and let's talk about the physical. There's something that's called generational wealth. There's something that's called a legacy. And so when Jack Dio and friends collect all of the nation's resources, or a whole lot of the nation's resources, when they die, it doesn't die with them. It goes on to the next generation. A lot of you argue Jack Dio doesn't have children. My information says Jack Dio has at least 2 children with a woman who is now a senior administrator at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. I know her name. I have a photograph of her. I have a photograph of the 2 children. And so on and so forth. In this last year, she was promoted. She superseded some seniors and was promoted way to the top there. But even if we're saying Jack Dio doesn't have children, Jack Dio has relatives. He come from somewhere. He didn't fall from tree. So he must have nieces and nephews and uncles and aunts. And if you were to pay attention to his relatives and their way of life, then you will ask yourself if the country's wealth, if the country's resources are not being used to put them on good footing, to keep them well catered for, so that their next generations can be above the fray. And it is their next generation. If you think Jack Dio is bullish and oppressive, with the kind of wealth and acquisition and power and so on that Jack Dio is circling himself with, and by extension his relatives and his family and his circles, it's as simple as when I die another Rasta will take over. Because while it is Jack Dio in himself, and let's use Jack Dio to represent all the politicians in the PPP, quite frankly, the big wigs, while they might have to be guarded in terms of how they use the resources which they're stealing from the nation, because nobody is paying attention to their relatives and friends, they may have very much more freedom to use those resources to achieve the things that Jack Dio and the rest of the PPP would like achieved. Jack Dio and the PPP did not go out there and slaughter hundreds of young African men in this country. But they provided resources and access to resources to the operatives of the Phantom Squad and the Killing Squad and the Death Squad and all kinds of squad, Roger Khan Squad and all kinds of squad, to achieve that aim. So when a lot of people have difficulty tying it back to the government, or had difficulty tying it back to the government of the day, the government of the day was having its way. From arm's length. And so don't let us think that when Jack Dio dies, that's the end of our problems. The wealth that has been stolen from this nation is left to empower his friends, favorites, and families, his cronies, partners in crime. And so just as the cycle of poverty is perhaps perpetual, so too would be the cycle of domination if we don't pay attention to it. Let us stop believing or stop putting all of our hope for salvation and liberation in the fact that somebody will soon die or somebody will die eventually. Think about all of the damage that they would have done to you and your next generation before they die. Those are some things I want you to consider this morning. One of the things I said I wanted to talk to you about this morning is the politically connected criminals in the society. Guyana is a place of crime. Guyana is rated number 7 as the most criminal society in the world, ahead of Jamaica. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of that? That I'm sure I mentioned that last week. Marlon Macrae said the time has come for phantom squads to come back. Sometimes I usually say to you when you make certain comments, I don't follow them because I don't understand clearly what you're saying. Got a man saying you live in a different world. I don't know who lives in a different world, if he is addressing me or not. But I said I want to talk about politically connected criminals and their handlers. This society has always had politically connected criminals. Always had criminals, or lawbreakers, let me call them that, with political handlers or political connections. I spoke to you previously about a man named Beast from Enmore. He was one of the PPP henchmen. He had an entire armory in his home when the vigilance police went there. Licked some shots, jumped through a window, ran away. They collected the armory. It was lodged at the vigilance police station, etc., etc. That case is history. Beast never served a day in jail for it. Right? Beast never served a day in jail for it. Because he was, like I said, a PPP henchman. He was well connected politically. And so they did what they had to do to help him to maintain his freedom. He came and died. He came and died. Then I remember in the area of that gas station, we call it what? Bethope gas station? Bethope area, yes. There's a gas station somewhere before you get to the MMC corner area, a little east of that, you have a gas station. Opposite that gas station, there is a chicken farm. Rick said, don't talk nonsense. I don't know anything about Hindu religion. Is it not true that reincarnation is one of the pillars of Hinduism? Let's move on. Opposite that gas station was or is a chicken farm. I think it's more in disrepair now than it doesn't look operable. It doesn't look as though it's in operation. But there's a chicken farm there. And while the PPP was in government, one of their operatives, I think the name of the guy is Chinese. I can't remember his name exactly. Was confronted and caught in that area. And it was the 2000s when they were murdering people left, right, and center. There were connections there. We know of Keleman Lal, who was always, over the years, was always licking shot and beating people with gun and so on for his mistress and all kinds of things. Never faced a day in court. Ossie Rogers recently assaulting Borbis, never faced a day in court. You know what is alarming? Well, we had the Imam, is that what we call him, in Sophia, that sexually assaulted those young boys. What is happening with this case? I know there were lots and lots of obstacles to getting him charged because of the Muslim connection, the PPP connection. As a matter of fact, it is alleged that he's related to the hack in some way or other. Recently, we learned of a policeman, a young policeman, the remains of a young policeman missing since 2016, I think. Can't remember if it's 2016. But his remains were found 2 days ago. Shallow graved on the Suzdike Highway. The police has bulletins out for at least 2 persons. I understand it's a man and wife. Jaffer Ali, is that the name? Jaffer Ali, I think the name is. Well, who don't know can tell you now that perhaps it took so long to find the body of this young man, and it will take a mighty long time to bring the intellectual authors of his murder to justice, because I understand that there's some serious political connections there. Serious political connections. And those serious political connections go all the way up to the office of the president. We know of that Besram matter, for example. Where Besram was alleged to have been the intellectual author behind the murder of a young man in Borbis because of rejection of sexual advances. That is what they said. I don't know. One would argue that the DPP moved mountains to bring Besram to justice. But it is my firm belief that the DPP was pulling wool over the eyes of the Guyanese. Because part of the thing in that matter is the church of Besram was more to prove Besram as an accessory to the crime. Right? And so sometimes when you think people are doing the right thing, they are doing enough to make it appear as though they're doing the right thing so that you can rest. Or you can give them a rest, give them a pass. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So, somebody to get away, as we like to say, from the crime they committed, all you got to do is get them a wrong charge. And it is my firm belief, and we got a former prosecutor on the live here. She might identify herself later to support my theory. People are quite aware of the fact that in many instances a lot of wrong charges are preferred. A lot of wrong charges are given to people so that they can argue that they were charged with their crimes, they were placed before the courts, and the court set them free. Understand that? Of course, we know of the allegations against young Mohammed, who they say is the mastermind, or alleged is the mastermind behind Paper Short's killing. That man was never even brought in for questioning by the police, as far as I know, because there are deep political connections there. Good. So there are so many instances of people not being made to face the courts for their crime, not being made to pay for their criminal activities in this country because they are politically connected. Don't let me even go down the road of allegations of rape. Remember that area, I think in Region 9, that allegedly shot the young lady in his vehicle because she refused to give him to him sexually? Are you remembering that? Right, so there are lots of things. There are lots of things, lots of crimes committed in this society, and people are not made to pay for it because of their political connections. Right? Let's talk about this most recent one. One would believe that if you're a policeman in this country, if you're a member of the joint services in this country, whether Guyana Defense Force or Guyana Police Force especially, but Guyana Police Force and Guyana Fire Service included, one would believe that if you're a member of the coercive arms of the state, you will be safe in this society. You'll almost be immune from crime. Bandits don't take the chances of breaking and entering into known police homes. Bandits don't take the chances of snatching, choke and rob, snatch and grabbing sovereign members of the Guyana Police Force. They don't do it. In many instances, they don't even want to mess around their relatives, because they know the long arm of the law will come at you. Remember that incident with the detective, plainclothes policeman, whatever you call him, in front of Starbuck Market, where a young man attempted to rob his wife, I think, or his mistress, or whoever the female was, and he shot him point blank according to eyewitnesses. Murder him, some people argue. But those are examples of why people really don't mess around police and soldiers, especially if they're known. How then could somebody be bold enough to murder the young policeman that has been missing for several years now and shallow graved at Tuesday? Let me ask the question, what has emboldened those people to do it? Well, my sources have given me a link and some information. Here's a photograph of Yusuf Zahid, also known as Nakiba Zahid Zafarali. Who is this woman? What are her political connections? Is it those political connections which emboldened her? To believe that, well, hey, I could murder one of them and get off. I can be the intellectual author. When the story broke recently that the body of the policeman, Quincy Lewis, is suspected to be buried along the East Bank Highway, the Suicide Highway there. What I remember reading is that the two men, I think, who were arrested and questioned in relation to this matter said that an overseas-based woman hired them to commit this crime because she was allegedly in a relationship with the policeman and accused them of being unfaithful. Well, of course, I think somebody said there's more in the martyr than the pestle in this matter. A lot of people do not believe it is just a love affair gone wild. Right? But the allegation is that Yusuf Zafarali is the mastermind of this crime. But who is this woman? My understanding is, and I will use alleged here because I am not her parents, I didn't do the DNA. And so in some families, they disown you when you get into trouble, when you do bad things especially. Right? My understanding is that this woman is the daughter of a serving counselor at the Plaisance Industry in DC. Is that the correct name? Plaisance Industry in DC? Right? So I'm told that she is the daughter of a serving counselor, perhaps a former chairman of the Plaisance Industry in DC, PPP counselor. So did I coverage? Well, it's more than that too. Not only is her father allegedly a counselor at the NDC in Plaisance, and politically connected to the PPP. It is alleged. Note I'm saying alleged because, like I said, I'm not the parents, I haven't done the DNA and so on. She is cousin to your finale. How interesting is that? How interesting is that? It is alleged that she is cousin to Irfan Ali. How interesting is that? Are we likely to see her being brought to justice soon? Take a good look at her. Is the Guyana police force going to turn every stone possible to bring the killer of one of its own to justice? Is it? Are we likely to hear eventually the full story behind the murder of young Lewis? Young man One would say just doing his duty. Huh? Let's keep our eyes on this prize, if you want to call it that. And while we are at it, let's ask Randy Singh and Miranda Brown if they have ever been in the company of this woman. Let's ask Rick quick. Is she truly a cousin of Irfan Ali? Is it true that her father is Zafar Ali from Plaisance, NDC? A PPP representative in the area? We'd like to know the facts of this matter. Why did she procure the murder? Or there's something else I want to ask. Was she aided and abetted by agents of the state to leave the shores of this country? I'm just asking. I would like to know the answers, like many of us, like many of you. Who know? They say who know, fart for no. But keep your eyes on this one. But like Wanda also said yesterday, I think, does anybody know where the other bodies are buried in this country? Rick, your answer was swift, man. You're very efficient for your handlers. No, she is not. Do you have any proof she is? Do you have any proof, Rick, that she is not? That's the question. Do you have any proof that she is not? It's an old trick of the PPP. That when they're confronted with their deeds and the deeds of their friends and cronies, they ask you for evidence. Right? You know what I'm saying? They ask you for evidence. But they have the investigative capacity. They have the investigative capacity. They know where to find the evidence. So why not? There's the same reason why the likes of Roger Khan and so on could walk freely in the state of Ghana. Because instead of the state of Ghana compile the evidence, they ask citizens, where is the evidence? The state is aiding and abetting the perpetration of criminality in this society. Yes, I recognize Vibert White and others, Yvette Graham and so on, that they are trying. Let them keep on trying. Pamela Nelson is sharing her experience. He knows a young police officer who left the job. I know of lots of police men and women who left the job, or are on the job but are living in fear for their safety, and so they are staying quiet. I know of a police getting a rape case involving a big friend of the PPP. And by the time the rape report was made to the police station, I'm going to tell you how this Paranam police station. This is one of the most corrupt police stations in Division 4C. I don't know if it is accurate or not. It is alleged. But by the time the report was made, a certain sergeant contacted the alleged perpetrator. He and his relatives came to the police station. Pay what to get paid. And the victim, or the alleged victim, started getting the royal runaround. As a matter of fact, the police encouraged the settlement of that matter financially. I know of a bigwig PPP friend of the PPP, who was guilty of statutory rape. The matter was reported to the Plaza police station. Instead of letting justice take its course, a certain sergeant encouraged the investigating officer to bring the parties together and make them sign some kind of agreement in the presence of a justice of the peace. To say that the statutory rapist will take care of the child and the child. No prosecution. These people have political coverage and they continue to do wickedness in the society. There are lots of these cases I can talk about. Just recently, you heard me hint at it. A relative of a minister of this government was arrested by the police for illegalities, and they didn't spend 1 hour in the lockups. Once they pointed out who they were and indicated to the police that they must remember it's the PPP running this country, and heads gonna roll, they were released. The facts are still being gathered on that one, but you are going to hear about it eventually. But hint to Benny Bamekwa, she better take notice, and I know that those who are monitoring this program from below NCN and at Home Affairs and Prime Minister's office and so on, they know what I'm talking about. They know the minister that I'm talking about. They know the relative that I'm talking about. Sometimes they gotta talk half and left half. Keep that in mind. We have people who are politically connected to the society with criminal intent, and they're perpetrating a lot of criminal acts in the society, and they're not being brought to justice. As a matter of fact, it's 9 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I'm about to open up the lines. As a matter of fact, I saw a post from a social media influencer. It was satirical. It was the image of another social media influencer in the arms of Ali. And the caption, to some extent, was saying, running to the PPP and running to the arms of Ali is for a safe shelter for a lot of criminally involved people or allegedly criminal people. Many of you would have seen the image, I'm sure, and you know what I'm talking about. The PPP has always been and will continue to be a shelter for the criminally involved in this society. Look at all of the nomination day photographs where they are putting African Guyanese on parade. Like when the slave ships come in and they put the enslaved Africans on shore for the buyers. That's how they're putting them out in these photographs after nomination day. Check in those photographs and you're going to find at least one questionable character among the crowd in almost every instance. In almost every instance. People who are either before the courts or expect that anytime they could be before the courts or know that they're involved in nefarious activities are cozying up with the PPP because they know there's protection to be had from them. And I talk about nomination day. Have you seen the allegations from the PPP, from the PNC? And the exhibits put out there to show how the PPP has been forging people's signatures and corrupting the electoral process in the local government election. An entire list of supporters, all the names on an entire list are questionable. They were all signed for by one person. Well, if that's not corruption and criminal, I don't know what else is. I am waiting to see what actions will be taken to bring those people to justice. Like I keep asking, how is it only African Guyanese were charged coming out of the 2020 elections with allegations of electoral fraud, etc.? Where are the 47 presiding officers for those boxes that have no statutory document? Why have none of them been charged? Why? Where are they? Because they are connected to the PPP. They are criminally involved with the PPP. They have done the PPP's biddings. And so there is no benefit for the PPP to charge them. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Real quick, I will continue to make allegations. You want to know if I have the evidence. There's only one way to find out. I always say, for the 2+ years, 3 years that I've been doing BUXTONIAN morning time, no Guyanese morning time, real quick, and the likes of Miranda Brung and so on, they've all failed to contradict me. I put information out there. Why? Buried alive, but I'm still breathing. Morning, I am morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7:16 on the 24th day of April in the year 2023. Welcome to the program. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam, the BUXTONIAN. Welcome. Oh lad, you know they got some early morning crosses you just can't avoid seeing. Kamal Chan, Kamal Rampasad. Kamal Rampasad. Why you don't go and see if the nearest rum shop open? What's your problem early this morning? Listen, how you have been? How was your weekend? You all had a good weekend?
How was your weekend? Did you have a weekend in paradise? That's the question. Did you have a weekend in paradise? How was it? Made some money? It was a quiet weekend for me. I did a lot of work. And then I went out to that meeting last evening at Melanie. And I was following all the political uptakes and downturns and so on. What did you do with your weekend? Did you make some money? Y'all make some good fish and bacon, put it outside in front of the yard there to sell. Because you live on the main road where all the tourists, the spas, and they want local cuisine. You make some fish and bake, some puri and curry. Roti and curry. How about some metem with some good duff? Right? These are all parts of the local culture, you know. And while some people seem to want to believe that it could cost us when they tell us go and sell black pudding and cocoa rice and so on, what they don't understand, or as we like to say, what they're doing is exhibit the ignorance. Because they don't understand the importance of things like those in a society which calls itself a tourist attraction. Right? You don't understand that. If I live in the US, even as a Guyanese, when I come home, I don't want burgers and shakes. What I want is a local cuisine. Give me some good steamed fish. Some fish broth. Give me some cook up. I want some metem. By as long I need a duff as nice and fluffy as this. Right? That's the taste of home. That's what I want. And that is what tourists want too when they come to our countries. They want to taste our home. Right? That's what they want. See, I gotta understand that. So when the question tell you about blah 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 blah, go sell cocoa and black pudding and thing, take the encouragement. I'm telling you, you're gonna make a lot of money on it. I dream, and it's something I'm working on in my mind. I'm sharing the ideas. I don't hoard ideas, you know. I dream of the day when somebody can walk off the road and come to Twilight or Lou's Kitchen and say, please a dozen conky. Do you have any conky? I'd like to have some conky. I want to be served conky and mobby, or what we call it, swank. Conky and swank. Good? You know, there's nowhere in this country, not even in the city, I think, that I can walk on a regular day. I like today. I can't go to town and say I'm going to need two conky. They gotta be special orders someplace. Good? So when they throw these stones at you, I want you to take them and build walls or build palaces. Understand that? And so utilize those ideas, utilize your local skill, your local knowledge to make money. Whether it's on the weekend, whether it is during the week. For example, I was thinking this morning, maybe I need to start advertising a dinner service. Everybody is doing breakfast and lunch. But who does dinner really? You come home from a hard day's work, you don't feel like cook. You're looking for some dinner. The fastest thing you could turn to is fast food. Because the Creole restaurants are all closed or all done with food after lunch. By 3 o'clock, they ain't got nothing to sell you. So maybe some of you can make a good dinner, can invest in, start a dinner service, advertise your business. Nothing wrong with wanting saltfish and bakes for dinner. Roti and curry for dinner. Puri for dinner, and pot bakes. We call them Buddha. Nothing is wrong with wanting Buddha for dinner. Right? Y'all know it's Buddha. Well, I did say just now pot bakes. I love a pot bake. I'll tell you all about my son. If you make pot bake, he can take a whole one, dab some butter in it while it's hot, and he got to heaven. Right? I'm just sharing these ideas with you because I always encourage you to make money. Because when you empower yourself, right? You can't sit on the corner and wait for hustle and feel empowered, you know. Good? When you empower yourself. And so you don't have to relegate yourself to wanting to eat a food. I gotta eat a food. I gotta put on a red t-shirt to eat a food. You can eat a food every single day. And if you're eating a food by a 9 to 5, you can eat an extra food by doing something on your days off. Right? And so they don't get the opportunity to come to you and say, I can give you a $5,000, I can give you $10,000, I can give you $20,000, depending on how I see you in the society, to wear my t-shirt. And by wearing my t-shirt, you're eating the food. No. We have to continuously think about how we empower ourselves so that nobody could take the ice and pass me. Because that is what it comes out to. I pass. A friend was sharing with me yesterday morning. He said last week he bought a tin of corn, I think, for $300. This week he went back for the same tin of corn. He paid $450 it. Same store, same seller. What that has demonstrated, in the simplest of terms, in the simplest discussion, what that has demonstrated is that within a week, a lot of housewives, a lot of people, in fact, the whole citizenry have faced 50% increases on many of the things that they use on a daily basis. But have they seen the requisite adjustments of their wages and salaries to compensate for those increases? No. And so when your salary, your wages and salary remains stagnant, but prices of things are increasing all around you all the time, you find yourself in a quandary. You find yourself in faced with serious challenges. How do I make ends meet? Right? How do I make ends meet? A lot of people, instead of digging deep, analyzing their environment, revisiting their skills, going back to history to see what the older folks were doing to make ends meet, simply throw their hands up in here and say the PPP in control of the oil money, and so we go into them. We go into them. And we're gonna wear a red jersey and we're gonna eat the food. Well, here, election season is like every day. So you ain't gonna get to eat the food out of the PPP every day by wearing a red t-shirt. But I can tell you what you will do by wearing the red t-shirt. You're going to burn your bridges. You're going to burn your bridges. Philip Simeon or Simeon Phillips, whichever one. Somebody get Simeon off my program. Moderator, If you're on the job this morning, get Simeon off my program. I'm not going to stand for any idiot coming there cussing. I don't care who they're cussing. You could be cussing to defend me or you could be cussing to try to insult me. But don't come here cussing in the morning, man. I don't want it. If you drank your rum last night and you want to cuss who in your house. Let the police come and deal with it. Don't come here cussing. Right? When you wear the red t-shirt for food, you ain't gonna get to wear a red t-shirt every day for food because there ain't gonna election every day or every quarter. But what you certainly would have done is burn your bridges. Because from I recognize that you choose to wear a red t-shirt in the name of of eating a food, I recognize that you're selfish and you do not have the interest of your community at heart. You do not have the interest of your community at heart. And you do not even have me, a citizen, a resident of your community at heart. I'm calling for the moderator because for me to stop my train of thought and go and block somebody is not good for what I do. Right? It has its own distractions. So you burn your bridges. I read a number of Facebook posts over the weekend, and I am not going to go and look for them because most likely you might have seen them too, but I will discuss them and the severity of their meanings. There is a particular post I love because no name in call but stones throw. They say when brick pelting hack pen, they want that halogen or something like that. And so here is this post to the person who came to my home, I'm paraphrasing, or came to my sister's home and said that they were doing a project which they need signatures to support, and duped my sister into signing for them without declaring that, hey, I'm going to be a candidate for the PPP and that is what you're supporting. I want you to get my sister's name off your list. Is that how you intend to achieve your goals? By deceiving lifelong friends? By deceiving lifelong friends? In short, what that post is saying, here is somebody who has had a good relationship with a family. And in their selfish quest to eat the bread, eat the food, they decide, well, hey, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to join the PPP bandwagon. But I know that this family that I have a friendship with does not necessarily support the PPP. So in order to get their support for my candidacy, I will be deceitful. Well, let's say what how my daggers come out of light. And so it has not been revealed because the signatures and so on are to be posted of the nominators and so on. And here this lady has found herself on a list that she did not even sign for. Or some would argue she was tricked to sign for. That's a good example of how you burn a bridge. Because even if that family remains in communication with you, they will never take you on your word. They will never trust you after. And so your house could be on fire, or their home could be on fire, and you say fire, fire, and they look at you and say, this crook. Where the fire there? I ain't even looking for no fire. When some people tell you walk, you run. Right? And so these are the things we have to take into consideration when we tell ourselves that, hey, I got to eat a bread. I got to eat a bread. Because the bread that you eat is going to cause your demise. I like to tell you, the mouth is muzzled by the food it eats. You could also die from the food you eat. And so the deceit. Just to wear the red t-shirt, eat a bread, you deceive people around you. People who once trusted you. Right? There's another lesson in that. Because there are other testimonies, some people who found their names on lists which they did not agree to sign on. And in reflection, they came to the point of understanding. But you know what? This bandit they come around saying that he's doing a survey because the government gonna give out grants. And they want your name, they want your address, they want your ID card number, they want your TIN number. Give me this information, and so when the grants are ready, you will be among the people to get grants. Do you remember people coming into your communities and telling you those things? And so a lot of people found themselves on lists, or found their names on lists, and their ID card numbers, and all the relevant information. Lists that they don't necessarily support, simply because they were duped. They were tricked into giving their information under the guise of some grant from the government, or some project that needs signatories in the community. Right? And so we have to understand, we have to think, when people come and they tell us certain things, we have to interrogate the information. Start by asking yourself, how trustworthy is this person? Then follow by, how credible this information could be. I see some people every day send around a whole lot of things about this grant and that grant and the other grant. Apply online and so on. Not even taking the time to read it to understand that, number one, it doesn't pertain to this country. And in many instances, not even recognizing that it is a darn scam. Right? So it is saying to us that we have to learn to interrogate information. And interrogate people who bring the information. It's not a calling time, please and thanks. Right? So those are things we have to pay attention to. It's not everything that glitters is gold. And so when they come and they tell you some things, ask yourself if it's too good or it's good enough. You understand what I'm saying? So these are ways and means in which people have been burning bridges in their communities and even with their families because they got to eat the food. The short-term thinking. No for now, we got to eat the food. But if you dig deep in you, the possibility is you have so many avenues to eat the food every single day without losing your dignity. Right? And the title of this morning's program is The Evidence is In. And let me tell you what kind of evidence I'm talking about. The evidence of electoral rigging and who the riggers are. I mentioned to you this post from this individual who was tricked or deceived is the correct word by a close friend or of the family. But there's another post. There's a young man in the US, Najani something I think his name is, a 25-year-old young man who left this country more than 10 years ago, I think, or 6. But his name is on a list as a nominator. His signature is on the list. You know what else is on the list? His ID card number. According to the family, you know, once you get to the age of 40, you can apply for your ID card. That's the law. Once you get to 40, you can apply for your ID card. This young man applied for his ID card at GCOM. But he never got it. He never collected it. He left the country before collecting it. And so he's not the holder of a Ghana ID card. But here is his name published on a list with all the other relevant details and his ID card number. What does that say to you? It is evidence of two things. Number one, there are people on the list who are overseas based, who are not in this country, but are partaking in the elections of this country through the fraud of those who are operating in this country. That is why it is important, and that is why the coalition and everybody else with sense have been calling for a cleaning of the list and saying that if you're overseas based, if you don't live in this country, you have no place on the list. Because your name being on the list provides an opportunity for imposter voting. In this instance, imposter nominations. And so the evidence is in that yes, there has been and there will continue to be imposter voting and imposter nominations, because there are people whose names are on the list but they are not in the country, and others are using that to get an unfair advantage. That's one lesson. That's the evidence supports what we have found in the recount stations, that there were hundreds of people whose names are on the list. They're living overseas. They weren't in the country during the elections, but they voted. That is one example that supports that argument. As a matter of fact, during the recount, I remember there was a young man in one of the islands who again had left this country and never returned. But his name was there as voting. Good. What else is evident in this particular instance with this young man who is in the US, this 25-year-old? That there is a whole lot of corruption and complicity at GCOM. Because if this young man never collected his ID card, how did his ID card become available, or the details of his ID card become available to go on a nominations list? Where did the imposter, where did the fraudster get the information from so that he can put the correct ID card number, date of birth and everything on the nomination form? You do not collect somebody's ID card with an authorization. The person whose ID card it is has to turn up at GCOM with a relevant piece of pink slip or white slip or whatever it is, what they call a counterfoil, to go and uplift that ID card. And so since this young man left this country so long ago and has never collected the ID card, how did it find itself in the possession of somebody who could have used it as part of the nomination? It says that there is complicity and there is fraud taking place at GCOM. And we are arguing that all the time, that the PPP has so corrupted GCOM that it is no longer capable in its current state to deliver to the Guyanese people a free, fair, and credible election. And so we are saying, the WPA is saying, make June 12th the named election day a day of resistance against fraudulent elections. That's what we're saying. And I am saying you can't wait until June 12th to start the resistance. But the resistance ought to be started now. As a matter of fact, it should have been started way before now. The evidence is there. Somebody in GCOM had to deliver that ID card or that information to the person who used it on a nomination form fraudulently. The evidence is in. Here's another piece of evidence. Barrett Jagdeo, the General Secretary and Vice President, or whatever you want to call him, of the PPP, has apologized to a family whose dead mother name appeared as a nominator for the PPP candidacy. Jagdeo has apologized. Now that apology, first and foremost, is an acceptance that this thing happened. It is an acceptance that it happened. It is also proof of what we've been saying, that the PPP has been resurrecting the dead. The PPP has been resurrecting the dead to partake in elections. When we were in the recount stations, we found that there were hundreds of dead voters in PPP strongholds. And so while a lot of you were making light of the evidence when we brought it out of the recount stations, here it is. It is only nomination day, and all of that evidence is coming forth. All of that evidence is coming forth only on nomination day. And while in the 2020 elections, the PPP and all of their friends and guardians of democracy were denying these things, here is Barrett Jagdeo admitting that it did happen in this year's nomination, and he apologized to the family. So the evidence is in. We have seen evidence already of imposter voting on nomination. We have seen evidence already of fraudulent behavior. We have seen evidence already of the dead voting. We have seen evidence already of overseas-based Guyanese information being used fraudulently and people voting for them fraudulently or nominating them fraudulently. We even got an instance of a dead person as a candidate for the PPP. Now, some people say you can't make this up. And so the evidence is there. What else are we looking for? What else are we looking for? Why is it? From the time this information started coming out, the streets of this country have not been filled with supporters of the coalition, supporters of the PNC, supporters of free, fair, and credible elections, demanding that first and foremost, all of these fraudsters be arrested and charged by the Guyana police force. Or should I say the PPP political police force? We should have been demanding that these people be arrested and placed before the courts for fraudulent conduct. We should have been demanding that elections be called off and systems put in place to ensure that these frauds don't take place to affect the results of the elections. One of the surest way of eliminating or reducing the possibility for these frauds is by biometrics. We should have been in the streets demanding biometrics. I am saying if there was any time, any opportune time in recent times for the opposition to put boots and numbers on the streets of this country, it was after nomination day. The WP has been saying it. We know that the rig is already in. I have presented to you. You have seen for yourselves in the press over the last couple of days the evidence to support the belief that a rig is already in. But we're still head on into an election. Oh, we rather broke it up after the elections. But when we decide to broke it up after the election, it's like Anthony B. say, the damage has already been done. Because like Janet Jackson, they're going to throw it over their shoulder. You ever ask yourself why Jack Dio and the others in the PPP were so bullish on the Granger government and say, listen, don't tell us about what they call it again, petition. Don't tell us about petition. We will not allow you to swear in and then go to a petition. Have you ever asked yourself why? Because by the time they get to the petition and by the time the petition was heard, the damage would have already been done. And so they all conspired and forced the hands of Granger to come up with Order 60. Whereas it should have been, according to Roper, Granger should have been sworn in and then a petition filed. So you can fight the fight after the fact that Granger was sworn in. Because at the end of the day, what matters most, Granger was sworn in. Here it is again. We are prepared to fight the fight after the damage is already done at local government elections. After nominations of corrupt lists are accepted today, you will know the pronouncement on a lot of the lists. But I said one rotten orange spoil the old bag. I live in Guyana, so talking about orange, don't tell me nothing but potato and barrel. And herring and barrel. We have seen enough evidence to say that the nomination process was fraught with corruption and therefore it should be discarded. Proper systems should be put in place for us to move ahead with this election. But no, we're going to wait after nominations are declared today. Everything is all right and good. And then in 2 months' time, or less than in about 6 weeks' time, we're going to experience a low or almost a poor turnout at the polls. And the PPP will inflate the turnout. And they will declare themselves victors. And then we're going to go to the courts. Not amidst the street, we are not even going to take to the streets. Because it appears though the street got something that frightening, right-thinking Guyanese, frightening people who believe in democracy, frightening supporters of the coalition. Something on the street that driving we away. So we are not going to take to the street. We are not going to make demand. But when the WPA say boycott these elections, they tell us no. You must partake in the elections. The ancestors died for the right to partake in elections. You must partake in these elections. Partaking in these elections will ensure that we don't lose our constituencies that we currently control. I said previously, and I'm saying it again, sometimes it is best to lose to win. And if you take condign action, you will not lose. The status quo will remain the same. Because if you ensure that the election doesn't proceed on June 12th, then the NDCs and the local authority areas management can't be changed. And so you will retain control of the municipalities and the LAAs that you control. But no, let us go to the elections and defend our thing. I am saying, you're going to go to the elections. I'm not sure you're going to defend your thing. Because if you can't get the nominations to be discarded, I don't see how you're going to get the votes to be counted accurately or the process to be respected. These are the things that we must pay attention to. And how are we winning? Even if we retain the municipalities and the local authority areas, how are we winning when the evidence is out there again? Remember, my program this morning is the evidence is in. How are we winning when, despite the fact that we have won previously and are in control of municipalities like Linden, New Amsterdam, Georgetown, but the PPP is dictating what happens in those municipalities because the PPP is holding on to the purse. The PPP has corrupted officials in these municipalities. The PPP is what we say, boycotting, undercutting, bypassing the relevant authorities in these NDCs, and they have their footstools, those who must eat the bread, doing their biddings in these LAAs and municipalities. How it is we winning? We have won, but we are losing. That's why I'm saying it is better to lose to win. Let me give you the evidence. Yesterday, the Marara Waves, I think, reported about stalls being broken down along Regent Street. The first thing a lot of people jump up and holler is the PNC Mayor Hubert Singh. And now we give people assurances that they don't have to be worried. But here it is Sunday morning, he broken down people's stands. But when the dust was settled, we came to understand the order to break down those stands did not come from the city councillors. It was not a decision made at City Hall. It was not a decision made around your horseshoe table by your representatives. It is an instruction given to one who sits there as perhaps town clerk, working on behalf of the PPP, taking instructions from the PPP. And so the PPP has issued an instruction, broke down all them stars along Regent Street. And you know the majority of people who can suffer when them stars broke down along Regent Street, people looking like you and I. And people looking like the town clerk who is carrying out that illegal instruction from central government. It might be legal to break down the stars, but it is illegal, the source of the information, instruction, as they call it, fruit of a poison tree. That is the jurisdiction of city council, the municipal government. But they did not make that decision. Central government instructed one of their officers to execute that plan. Why? You know why? They want to create havoc in city council. They want to create havoc among the coalition supporters. They want to say that this mayor who you have voted and put there, this mayor who is a PNC representative, this mayor is what make your stars get broke down and move. And so when local government election comes June 12th, don't vote for them. As the Americans like to say, read the tea leaves. Are you reading the tea leaves? Are you reading the tea leaves? It is a campaign of domination, a campaign of divide and conquer. But my question to you this morning is when you're going to prepare to stand up and defend yourselves? When will you be prepared to stand up and defend yourselves? Number one, when you are prepared to stand up and demand that the municipal government be respected, and that the local area authority be respected, and that your local representatives be respected, and that your national representatives be respected. When will we stand up in unity and make that demand and ensure that we get the respect that we due? When will we? When will we stand up and demand that the local government elections are free, fair, and credible, so that the people we want to represent us will represent us? When will we stand and demand that? In case y'all don't see it, let me point it out for you. I like make it clear, as some people like to say, pellucidly clear, clearly clear. Let me make it pellucidly clear for y'all this morning. The PPP is not in control of City Hall yet. They're trying to get control of it. But look what their actions are. Broke down them stars along Regent Street. The PPP is not in control of City Hall yet. But look at their most recent instructions. No vending on the Kingston seawall, where all them poor people, they catch in their hand, they making a bread. But wait, you know why they feel emboldened to do it? Because instead of seeing a sea of green out there standing behind your leaders, they saw a sea of red looking to eat a bread and giving the impression of legitimacy of the red side. Because all they could think about, we're going to eat a bread today, but elections day we know we're going to vote for the green. It doesn't work like that. Optics is 90% of the game. You have empowered them to do to you just what they are doing because you want to eat a bread. A bread today. But you don't think about tomorrow and the next day and long term what the impact of you eating that bread today will be. It's like they say, what's sweet a goat mouth, that's bitter your backside. You know that you eat the bread, you're going to taste it today, you're going to get belly full. But you don't know that a few hours after you're going to get diarrhea. As we like to call it, shittings. And so a lot of us, many of those who even have stands on Regent Street and so on, and many of those who would normally, quote unquote, hustle on the seawall and around the road corners and so on with a small business, many of them put on their red shirt because they wanted to eat a bread or a food. But today, they're getting shittings because they see what the result is. And if our eyes can't open now, I don't know when it will open. The evidence is in. What else do we need to see? What else do we need to see in this society to understand that the PPP is bad, terrible, no good for this country, and more particularly so, it is no good for black people, and more particularly so, it is no good for the general poor in this population? What else do we need to see? What else? What else do you need to see when a senior functionary of your law enforcement authority is detained interrogated or device taken away by a foreign government or visa revoked by a foreign friendly government. Let me include that. Foreign friendly government. But the people who you have in office, the people who are your servants, have not taken the time to provide an explanation for why that is possible. What else are you waiting to see? Everybody is applauding. Everybody is talking. Yeah. The PS of the Ministry of Home Affairs, she phoned the Tekwe and they arrest she in the US and they detained her for more than 3 hours and she visa got revoked. But I bet you this morning, I am putting my head on a block this morning. May Tucson Junior Thomas, whatever the other name she has, is at work as a permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs in this country. Where else would it happen? In which other democracy would it happen? A foreign-friendly government has put this official through the mill. As she comes back quietly and turns out on the job, and nobody provides an explanation to the citizenry, and the streets are not filled. Where else will it happen? What are we waiting for? You talk to me. I can go on and on this morning. The evidence is in. We are seeing it locally, and we are also seeing it internationally. The time to take to the streets of this country and demand to see the backs of the PPP is now. You don't need permission from the US. The US doesn't govern this country, it governs your politicians. You don't need permission from the UK and Canada. They are in control of the politicians when you should have been in control of the politicians. It is now 5 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. The lines are open. The case has been made. June 12th should be a day of national resistance against electoral corruption. But that resistance has to start yesterday. Can't wait until June 12th to start it. Has to start yesterday. Good governance, the demand for that should have started last week. So we're behind time. Let's play catch up. Call all the line. I need to put on the microphone so that we can hear you loud and clear. Caller, you're live.
Morning, Mr. Kadaki. I really appreciate you hearing me loud and clear, and my brothers and sisters in Guyana hear me loud and clear. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? You know how much people need these evidence that you're preaching every day, and like stick breaking with ears. Every day you're preaching it. Oh my God, Guyanese. What are we waiting for? So much fraud on a daily basis. Now the US detained that public figure. What are we waiting for? The boat with the gun sweep under the rug. The boat with the cocaine, the tons of cocaine. Had this ever happened under Granger Watch? What are we waiting for? all the youngsters that walking in Georgetown with their pants dropped to the body, like they're up there and everything is well. We ain't got babes, we ain't got suckling, we ain't got young generation that gonna need us, as we role model to carry on in this society. What are we waiting for? Oh my gracious. What are we waiting for? We have the bread in our mouth and we spit it out, and other people crushing us. What are we waiting for? Brother Kadaki, just continue with this teaching that today, tomorrow, when you see or if you see that these people override us, which I doubt, they're going to say same thing Brother Kadaki and Mr. Hines was saying. Another thing, why Mr. Granger is so silent up to now? If Mr. Granger tell himself that he's a man of God and he want to clear his name, just come out and say something. Why are you silent up to now? The PPP is paying you, you're drinking soup. In some country, Granger had was to run in for cover in a site in some other country, because look what you put us in. This other big tongue one that been trying to push our beat out. All of you drinking soup. The PPP using this as a example. If you're not saying anything, who the hell is we to respect the population? What are we waiting for? Have a blessed day, my brother, and continue your work. We love you.
Love you too. Call on the line. I don't want this one slip me.
Hello?
Call on the line, please. All right, call on your live. Go ahead.
Good morning, my friend. I know years ago, I heard Sharma say something. Sharma said 80% of Guyanese illiterate. And I live to see it, what Sharma said is true. The hour going on in this country, I can't see how come this country can't shut down again. When I listen to people like Jagio, I listen to people like Kishira, I listen to people like Agil, and all these people, I can't see why Guyanese can't come out and let this whole country shut down for at least to it all over, shut down the country. Let people get a message. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Yeah, let's talk about this. I want to read the exact comment. I'm going to tell you why just now. Kedaki, seriously? We will fill our streets with protesters because some USA Border Patrol officer seized a cell phone from the PS of Home Affairs? Kedaki marries a black sister who was an easy prey for a racist American public servant. Where's the Black Lives Matter group to assist Sister Me? Harris Delaney, or whatever your name, or whatever you be, let me tell you this. My blackness is not for prostitution. And if my black brother and sister decide that they want to prostitute their blackness, let them face the consequences. Do you seriously believe that this is just a black sister going through the airport and some racist American public servant decided to give her a hard time? Well, let me explain to you. I hope you got the intellectual fortitude to understand it, because like they say, y'all who just come and defend the PPP are intellectually lazy. May Toussaint Jr. Thomas, whatever her name, was traveling on a service passport. It's a diplomatic thing. She was traveling on a A1 or A2 visa. Reserved for government officials, so she didn't even have to say. Call on the line. She didn't even have to say to the border patrol officer, or whatever his designation, that she's a government official. She didn't have to say that. They knew that. They knew that from her passport. They knew that from her visa categorization. And certainly because of the office which she held or holds, they would have it in their records that she is who she says she is. Start there. With all of this known, do you believe that it is coincidental that they chose to quote unquote harass her according to you, Harris Delaney? No. They got the goods. They got the evidence on her. And perhaps they knew that what they had to get was a Huawei phone. Because that Huawei phone, and again the information we're receiving is that the phone which they took from her is quote unquote government property. Because it is a work phone. From what we're understanding, a Huawei phone. You know what they use the Huawei infrastructure for in this country? They use the Huawei infrastructure to manage the smart city for cameras. So 2 mornings from now, you might hear that a same phone that was taken from her got the evidence that will identify the killers of paper sharks. Because the Huawei phone is used to manage those cameras, to view them. Just as how you got your security camera in your house and you could be in the city and check to see what's happening at you via the internet, that is what they use the Huawei phones for in this country. So the phone that they took from her, according to our understanding, got a lot of people getting diarrhea this morning. So this ain't got nothing to do with her blackness. It has to do with her alleged involvement in criminal practices of this government. So don't come pelting this blackness at us and say, oh, it's a black sister gang up in Chicana. It's a black sister who has allegedly been involved in a lot of filthy and nasty, dirty, stinking behavior of this government. In which decent country does a senior official of state security, homeland security, whatever you want to call it, plaster photographs all around the media, social media and otherwise, being in association with quote unquote questionable characters? Oh, by the way, were you told, are you aware that her husband, some kind of Mirabu or whatever the name is American, that makes her American, perhaps, is in the employ of the Mohammeds, who recently hired, what we call them again? One of these consultancies to clear the name of Shell Mohammed. Are you aware of that? Harris Delaney or Delaney Harris, whatever it is. This is not coincidental. This ain't got nothing to do with race. This got to do with government corruption. And she's a high official of the government. And so the U.S. has had their eyes on her and still have their eyes on her and decided to act on it. The U.S. don't act wild. Trust me. They don't act wild. Caller, thank you for your patience. Your life.
You were quite correct. You know, we can't defend a coconut or a roast breadfruit. Whoever is that person that takes you there, a coconut, when you bust it, with a brown outside and what's inside, white inside. Roast breadfruit, black outside and how it stay inside. We can't defend those criminals who decide to sell out our people. And if they think it's spontaneous that the U.S. government block her and stop her at the airport and push her because she look a little pretty, they lie. There's not a reason why. The people been looking at them a long time. And who knows? The same Pegasus that they got to spy on we, same Pegasus spying on them. and more to come. As we say, a lot of them find the hand in turtle body this morning. Enough of them body going like when full ready to lay egg. Because that same phone skin up a whole heap of them. To the person that was asking where is Mr. Granger is at St. Sidwell's, hoping and praying for things to happen. And the supporters, they're there at Catholic Church, St. Sidwell, St. George's, are waiting for that thing on that cross to come down and be their savior and save them from the atrocities that is going through there and the oppression. This is going on. They're waiting on that thing to come down. So let them wait. It's coming very soon. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. This black system, I want to talk about blackness. This black system is the permanent secretary of the ministry from which the instructions came to dismiss a black sister in Moko because she stood up to defend her home when they were bulldozing it. Y'all remember the black sister? Do you remember that black sister? Do you remember the police knelt on the back of a black sister in the mud at Moko when they broken down she home and she business and she stood up for that? Do you remember the instructions that came shortly after from that ministry, most likely signed by the permanent secretary, to dismiss the young woman who was perhaps the special constable or something? No, she was a statistical officer in the ministry, and she will bring disrepute to the ministry. You remember the black sister? Where was this black sister when she was issuing that illegal and destructive and racist instruction? My politics is not personal. I don't deal with personality in politics. I deal with issues. Aris Delaney, answer those questions to me. Call you live. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Kadaki and the thing with the woman, you know, I look at, saw what happened. The woman, see, Guyanese don't understand American law. They don't understand nothing. America does pick at the gum to get at the tooth. She is affiliated with the government. She is friends with the Mohammeds. Reuters did a check on the Mohammeds. Mohammeds get a lobbying firm to say no, this and that kind of thing. What do you think America is? How only we does behave, sir? America know all who they got to look for. And as the caller rightly said, the Pegasus spyware that Barra Jagdio buy and think that he going to destroy the Africans in Guyana, who getting skin up? They getting skin up with a few silly black people like that girl in the midst. But who they will be destroying? They will be destroying the PPP. So I don't have no sadness to the woman. I'll gladly more them go who doing this skullduggery for the PPP and let them be caught. And that must not only be for that girl who is being caught now. All others who are house slaves, whether be big, small, or indifferent, whether be big, small, or indifferent, they must face the same type of music that that woman is facing. I quite certain if I pop up now in America, they ain't gonna take away my cell phone. And they are right, because they know that they cannot get down the thing of paper shots from this by Roger Khan, who is a special person in Guyana. They would have done that. Now coming along to this nomination day and all the ills that is being unearthed via the public and the other persons, I want to see this matter go to the front, because Anil Giddens in his presentation has said that anything that is contra to the local government act. It is gazetted, and anything that is contrary to it will be met with immediate charges will be filed, a hasty court appearance in which you will be subject to a high fine and a long time in prison. And once Barrow Jack Dio could come out openly and apologize for what is going on, he has made known to the entire world that a crime has been committed. And once you can say, yes, I apologizing for something, you say, yes, something happened. And I want the factions of the PNC party to take this case to task. This is something that has a finding. Now what Barrow did, he tried to get Nima Flubes and operatives like Carol Joseph and I think Vince Roy Jordan. He put out some case to them. The PNC should disregard that thing and carry that matter to court along with the little boy who went and applied for an ID card and was not given it. And that is why I said, when people die, they should take those ID cards, give them a paper that could last for 2 years. You make certain you do all the business of the deceased person. And after 2 years, that thing will not be able to work. It can't get an ID card. Unless that happens in Guyana, those ID cards will always be kept for times like this and sold to the highest bidder, the PPP, to try to keep themselves in power. And I hope that Great Norton could see it fit to lead a charge against this fraudulent nomination, because as you rightly said and other people rightly say, and I think here is where Kemraj Ramjitan, don't mind, he is away from the PNC. He should come out and show that this is wrong, and we are all gonna stand up with the PNC to fight a common cause, to have a legit election. And if we cannot have a legit election, let us move to have this election be apartheid, and all our what we ask for, our requirements of a new voters list, biometrics must be done in order for us to have proper, meaningful, and credible and fraudulent-less election. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. Y'all wonder why I got to see a red on the screen? I'm going to tell you why I got to see a red on the screen. Because the evidence is in. Call on the line. The evidence is in. What kind of evidence are you talking about? You see this policeman. Notice that a policeman. He is to the bottom right of my screen. This is a policeman. A serving member of the Guyana Police Force dressed in the red on nomination day. What does that tell you? What does that tell Godfrey Bess? What does that tell Clifton Akin? It tells them that this Guyana Police Force and Guyana Defense Force that they're saying are apolitical. You know the word? Apolitical. They say the Guyana Police Force apolitical. They say the Guyana Defense Force apolitical. When Takumo Gun said turn the guns in the right direction, best jump up and say the coercive arms of the states are apolitical. Well, look at an apolitical policeman dressed in red. He's a presidential guard. And his regimental number is 2361. His name is Henry. Y'all know him? That's an apolitical policeman. The evidence is in that the Guyana Police Force got a set of political prostitutes masquerading as defenders of the rights of citizens, as serving and protecting the rights of citizens, but that's what they are. Political prostitutes looking to eat the bread. Let best come and tell us about this here political policeman. As a matter of fact, I will tell you two things which you perhaps don't know, you didn't care to know. This policeman should be dismissed from the Guyana Police Force because of his show of bias or political preference. The last lesson on me. The young footballer Garrett or whatever he named that he dressed up in the red. According to FIFA rules, he should not have been there. There are sanctions that could be coming his way. I am saying again, we have to deal with the enablers of this wicked and corrupt government. We got to call them out and point them out for all that it's worth. Call it your life. Thank you for holding.
All right. I want to go back to our debate. All right. Guyanese must remember, American intelligence, they're very strategic. I spoke about information gathering. The U.S. have a lot of information on all the corruption that occurs in Guyana. They have interests in Guyana right now. They're trying to align all the countries on their side. So America is pushing now to get all the countries in line with their narrative. And Guyana is going wayward right now. If you notice, they're moving towards China, they're moving towards India, right? And it seems like the government is also sympathetic towards Russia. And there's gonna be a problem with the PPP government. And the opposition, you guys are screaming and hollering and worrying. I think you guys should continue doing what you're doing, but I'm gonna tell you guys something. This thing is bigger than Guyana politics. That situation with that minister, that is strategically done by the Americans for the simple reason of the ties that Guyana is having with China. The US do not want China in the southern hemisphere. And you guys could sit back, as far as I'm concerned, and watch and see what will happen. The US will not allow Guyana to go in a certain direction. They have information on all these guys they need to put their hand. I'm not going to call any names, but they have information on all these guys. It's just a matter of time. This guy, Barry Bataram, that drug dealer guy, he came into the US and he was arrested. That guy was connected with a whole lot of different people. And I did a live explaining that US authorities are going to get a lot of information from this guy. So it's not just about our ties with China, but it's also the corruption and the connections that certain people have with other people. I don't even call names. So when you see visas are being pulled, America is very strategic. They are doing, look at what they're doing. Look at the visas they're pulling. Look at the connection. It will all come together eventually. And this closeness with China, now the BRIC countries are trying to move away from the US dollar. That's Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa. The acronym for that grouping is the BRIC countries, BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Guyana is aligning themselves with that group. India tries to be neutral, but they're not. They're part of the BRIC organization. America will not let the BRIC countries control Guyana and the oil sources. Nothing in that hemisphere will be controlled by China and Russia and that grouping. Brazil is part of that BRIC organization, and they can be dealt with easily. Brazil cannot stand up. It would take, I would give US 48 hours to deal with Brazil. So we don't have to worry about Brazil. We don't have to worry with China. What the politicians, the ruling government have to worry about is America. And you guys sit back and watch and see how this play out. America is sending diplomats all over the world and finding out who are aligned with them. And if you're not, you're going to feel the full brunt of the US power. This thing is bigger than Guyana. If you listen to international news, you're going to hear what the US is doing right now. They had a late start. They're now flexing their muscles. They're moving around and they're talking to each and every country. That's why I said in my life, we have to pick a side. And it seems like the PPP party has picked China and the BRIC countries. That's where they're leaning to. And that's a mistake. And this is how the opposition have an opportunity. I'm telling you something. The opportunity, the opposition cannot compete with the PPP party at this moment. They don't have the finance to do it. You guys have to look for outside help, and the help is right in front of you. The USA is on your side. If you guys reach out to the USA, go in front of the United States Embassy. That's where you guys need to be. Let them know that, hey, you're aligned with them. The PP is not aligned with America, and the USA will pull them down. Watch and see what will happen. They're targeting everybody they need to target. As they come and they travel, some of them can't even travel. Like some of them are scared to travel right now because the US will put their hands on them. This thing is global. This thing is coming to a head, right? So I think the opposition, I think they're in a good position. The PPP could turn it around if they decide to change course, but I don't think they're going to do that because guess what? They're being looked at, and all the baggage that they have, America have all that information. The surveillance state is worldwide. Everybody's listening to everybody. The phones are being eavesdropped on, and America knows everyone they need to put their hands on. You guys, you know what? It's amazing. It's all in front of us, and no one realizes what's happening. Look at how the dominoes are falling. Look and see what's happening, and if you're of an average intelligence, you will understand this is global. The PPP has chosen the wrong organization, the wrong grouping. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They want to change the trading of oil. Oil is the big is an elephant in the room. On the stock market, most trading is done in dollars. They want to change that. America is now fighting against that. And if Guyana moves in the wrong direction, what happened to Venezuela? That would be the same thing that would happen to Guyana. All those funds that the PPP is having fun with right now, that will be taken away. I can guarantee you that.
Caller.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Voice note.
Morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I agree with everything that you said this morning, especially when you said that this is the time that we should now take to the streets. This is the time we should stand up for resistance, because even Stephen wanted to see that this is bare fraud. naked fraud these people are committed. We need to get out in the streets and stand up against GCOM and let them understand that this thing has to be cleared and be done honestly and in its right fashion. We have had enough of PPP and
Call all the line.
that nonsense, and then Jack, you got the face to say, but he would call the police, to go to the police, and with the police, talking about the police. Clifton Hickens, you're Commissioner of Police. I hope you're listening, and your people would care to you. This is the time you should stand up as a man, not a mantle, a man, and arrest Jagdeo and his cohorts for what they have done. This electoral fraud is jail, and we will stand up to see this happen. If you think it's going to go down so easily, no sir, no sir. Somebody got to face the blunt the law for this nonsense that the PPP are committing. All the time we say that dead people coming out and vote, dead people coming out and vote, and they got the faces and they say no, the APNU this and APNU that. Now you see who doing what they're doing, and indeed the dead people come out to vote. Because my mother's name is on the list, and she died since 2015, and this ain't going down so easy. So Clifton Hickens, you and your people stand up as man and not mantle and do what you have to do. It got to be done before this week done, because we're going to be in your ass.
You know, one of the things I said to a friend yesterday, somebody had called me to talk about what is happening in this country, son. I said in other places, from Monday last to today is 8 days. By Wednesday last week, or Thursday the latest Monday morning, people would have been appearing before the courts for those forgeries and frauds. But this is Guyana. Call A Live, good morning. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to the rest of Guyana. I must apologize for my voice. I'm a little beneath the weather. To contribute to your program this morning, Brother Kadaki, let me say that woman, what's her name, from the Ministry of National Security in Guyana, the permanent secretary. She must be. Let me say she must be counting or lucky star that she's not in federal custody in the United States of America this morning. She must, and the rest of the people, the government of Guyana, should thank God she's not still in the custody of the federal authorities in the United States this morning. I know what I'm saying. she must count her lucky stars. To go on a little link, let me say that the United States do not operate like Guyana. Whenever the U.S. authorities put hands on you, know that you're going down. And let me sound a warning that there's a lot more to come. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. U.S. intelligence is very aware of all the activities that's going on in Guyana, and I know the Guyana police and the PPP government in Guyana is listening to your program. And let me say to them this morning, that was a warning, and there's a lot more to come. That's it. That's said, and you're doing a good work, Brother Kedaki, and keep it up. And change must come. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you for your call. You have more voice notes. Tomorrow we're going to talk about nothing, including Pegasus and who buying Pegasus. A man that was charged and placed before the courts for corruption in the U.S. is the highest bidder. Hey, oh Lord, that's a boys of a feather flock together. Boys of a feather flock together. Call on the line, please.
Good morning,
Good morning,
great show this
Kadaki.
morning.
Call the Holy Line,
Great
please.
show.
Call the Holy Line,
Kadaki, I
please.
just wanna
Caller.
try to refresh something. It wasn't on you.
Caller. If you're calling on listen to me when you're calling on disconnect you. I said hold the line, please.
Every Saturday morning, I generally listen to a program out of Trinidad with this guy, Brother David Mohammed.
Okay.
And something I listened to last Saturday was so shocking to me. There's an arms importer in Trinidad that import arms. And 5% of the arms that are imported in Trinidad are registered in Trinidad. 40% of those arms come to Guyana. 45% of the arms go to Jamaica. And the rest goes between St. Vincent and St. Lucia. What is happening is that all of these boats you see that travel between Guyana and Trinidad, claiming that they're bringing in cement, they're bringing in additional things. They're not coming with ship from somewhere else. They're coming in from right nearby next to Trinidad.
Thank you for that voice note. Call it live.
Good morning, Kadaki. I just want to tell you, great show, good enlightenment, because for all those who don't listen to your show, I hope they tune in and listen to all what you be saying. It's hitting on the nail, and it's all coming to pass. And Mark Benchcraft used to have this American guy on his show, and he did talk just like what you said this morning here. He did mention that America want to come in, but they have other players in between. So let them take heed and listen to your show. You bring education and the truth. Let them listen. All who don't want to listen to your show, let them open up their eyes and they will learn a lot from you. If they was listening, they would have learned a lot of things long time ago, what you're talking, and it come to pass for them. All right, you have a blessed day.
Thank you for your call. And thank you for that person who was giving me the correction. Sometimes the mouth was running ahead of the brain. Yes, the highest bidder for the Marriott, Rami somebody. This is a man who was placed before the city, who the security councils of the US, whatever they call them, SEC, took to court for fraudulent behavior. We're going to talk about that. Right? I got his whole biography. We're going to talk about it. Thank you to a friend of the program. The lines remain open. 622-5933 is the number to call. I see a regular been calling and he ain't getting through because every time he calls somebody on the phone, but you just got to keep plugging at it, brother.
Good morning, Kadaki.
We did that one already. Here's another. And thank you for the person who said I put the wrong date.
Kadaki, good morning.
That's Jake.
I agree with Rhonda 110%. In the US here, when someone dies, everything stops. When my father died, he had a benefit card, and within an hour or two, you tried to use the card, and it wasn't going through. Because when he died, the funeral home had to notify some officials. I can't remember which department, but that had to happen. So unless we get proper biometrics in Guyana, the PPP will continue with this nonsense. Thanks.
You see when you are supposed to hold strength, you ain't holding strength, and you're going to call again. The lines remain open. 622-5933 is the number to call. You tuned to the Guyanese morning time. It's 13 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. Call A Live, good morning.
Bless good morning to one and all. Good morning, one and all. We have been fighting this fight for a very long time now. We've been talking, we've gone to court and all these things, and especially the court, nothing seems to be happening. I mean, things might be happening behind our back that we don't know of, but that is down to our politicians to explain that to us and so on. But I do think that the people see that they're not hearing what is going on from the politician. We really need to get a little bit proactive and get really, really super aggressive and hit the streets. And because these people don't understand nothing else but a crowd of black people running in the faces actively, right? And the other thing is that Sarah Lynch, the PEP might be think that they may think that they're in bed, especially this Barry Jagio dude, because he's so corrupt and so effing stupid that he thinks that she's in his camp. But she is a diplomat, and she is a conduit to the U.S. government, and I do think that she is going to be the permanent nail in the coffin. You see, all these people are going down on all these kind of things, and they're still hugging her tightly and so on. She is going to be the nail in their coffin. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. New policy. Anybody call and use any expletive on this program on this disconnect your call. I'm not sure how that is adding to the discourse. Well, y'all didn't think I could cost me as a cost board. Huh? Come on. Let's behave ourselves. Voice note.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning, viewers. I noticed this is the first time I heard Jagobat or Drug Dio or Jog Dio, every name is agree with the opposition, Aubrey Norton, at his press conference when he said, he agree with Mr. Norton that this finding is serious and it break the law and this is jail time and blah blah blah. They're the one that bring in the law when they get into power with regards to these GCOM worker. If they find being fraudulent and what's not, they must go to jail. So now is the time, as he agreed and he admit and he apologized that fraud has been committed with this GCOM or electoral list or whatever, submission list or whatever list. Arrest the people then. Let the people be arrested. Don't come out and giving us no long drink of water and try to dodge your way around it. Do what you're supposed to do. VP, do what you're supposed to do. Or the commissioner of police supposed to do what he's supposed to do. Or else he breaking the law and the constitution. Get your move on, people. It's time for action. Let action begin.
I want to point out something. Y'all don't understand. Or y'all pretend y'all don't understand. The PPP is good at appeasement, And it's a cultural thing. Anytime you catch certain people in the act, the first thing they try to do is apologize. A black man might want to be bold-faced and challenge you. But you see, them other set of people, they're quick to apologize. And we are quick to take appeasement. Do you know, elections 2020, when Anil was seen in Strasbourg with his shenanigans, you're going to look for the video. You're going to see Amna Ali and Basil Williams talking to Anil Nandlal. Amna said, bye, Anil, your name calling. Y'all remember that video? The evidence was right there, as far as I remember. And Anil turned to him and say, they will talk to these people, whoever. I know he's a reasonable man or something. In short, Anil tell Amno and Basil, man, this thing ain't got to be the way you are putting it, we could work it out. Because the way it was supposed to be is that he was supposed to be arrested and locked up. But what did they take? An apology, salt soap, appeasement, and the fraud was able to continue anyhow. Y'all gotta look to the video. When electoral fraud is taking place, people are supposed to get arrested. And you know what's the funny? Or the funny thing? The very man who convinced PNC or APNU representatives to let bygones be bygones, in this instance, is the very man who was hounding many of them after the elections and locked them up. So what this last voice note is saying about Jagdi agreeing with Norton, he agreed with Norton because he want Norton to get soft. I guess they learned well. The adage says, soft words turn it away rat. Y'all remember that? Soft words turn it away rat. Jagdi was using soft words because he wants soft Norton. Let Norton take the beat. Voice note. What me?
Once she finished getting up all our information, that's what I feel. She will end up feeding it back to the US government, and it's only a matter of time.
Why so?
I always believe that Sarah Lynch is here to feed back information to the US government of what is going on with the PPP. She's been around PPP, them getting all her information, and once she finished getting up all our information, that's what I feel. She will end up feeding it back to the US government, and it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. The US government does watch people for years and years and years before they lay their hands on them. That's how the US government stays. They don't just run and do things right like that. They wait, they gather all their information, whether it takes 10, 15 years, and when they don't get all the information, and then they come after you.
Thank you for that voice note. The lines remain open. It's 5 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. See if you could catch it. Voice note loading. Like these two in one load. Voice note.
Karaki, good morning.
Call all the line.
I'm so glad that the PPP is being skinned out. They're being spread out like a sheet. They're so ashamed that they don't have they can't say nothing because all the evidence is there. But I want the people in the northwest, the Amerindian area, where they just go and fool them with little money and things, they need to be vigilant and bring out the names too. Because remember, they get the Venezuelans, them that they give ID, birth certificate and so too, that don't even know the mother name from Guyana. Good. They need to be vigilant in those areas too. I got to check. I calling around my friends and encouraging them to go vote for APNU. But I have to go call them now and let them check to see, because my children, they applied for their ID card and they didn't get the ID card. Only one of them got an ID card. The rest didn't get an ID card because the time they applied, they weren't giving out ID card. So I got to go and see if my son named there on the list or anyone or my daughter named there on the list. And listen, anytime something like that happen, Kadaki, be sure that I come in straight to front and I'm gonna expose them. And number 2, let anybody vote for me. Let anybody vote for me and see if I'm gonna skin them out. Because this is total advantage they're taking on the app now because they got the money. They could go and raid up the people, them give them money for going and vote for bags of food and a drink. Some of us, our big black people, we are so low. Why are we so low? Just a hustle? It's all about a hustle. It's not about what you could gain in the long run from the country. Come on. And Madame Toussaint, I'm sorry for her. She, now that America got a phone, and they done why you think America, she come, they check your phone, and mere fact they tell her to come back for the phone when she's on her way back to Guyana for the phone. You hear? Is that they see what they want to see, so they're gonna link all the dots and the I cross the T's and everything from that same phone. And let me tell you, Barrett must get shit in some the same night. Robeson Ben asked him, if he get a heart attack. And informally, well, he's so dotish not even to know what's really going on. And you see Anil must be shitting all now. He must be changed so much. He must be wearing Pampers because he can't done shit. Because remember, the FBI used to be going to him. They went several times and they had a conversation with him. Whatever the conversation is, he could tell us what he want to tell us. He not going to tell us what the FBI say, right? So I think now that America got the phone and whatever, everything is going to come unraveling. And the Mohammeds that think they got money and them is God, sharing money, and all the black fools, them, they can't keep a good man down. Where is James Bond? Let me hear his mouth. Because he said, the app, no, they're beating up and skinning his teeth like Cheshire cat. Oh, they're beating up on the people, and that's not going to help. That's not going to help. They got to... Let me hear what he have to say to defend what is going on and all the evidence that is out there. Where is James Bond? Y'all need to call him out. Let him come out and say what he knows. Because he's under the Mohammeds. They got it under the skirt. This is total nonsense. I hope the people that join y'all tomorrow morning in front of GCOM and flood GCOM and let I want Claudette get hold. She might then mix up forget hold into. She might go to jail. It's good for she because Claudette didn't want nothing. My mother's 94 and she know Claudette from a little girl. And she said Claudette born in wealth. Claudette don't need wealth, so it's not money. Claudette gets yourself, the old people say when you play with the pup, you will be bitten by the fleas. It's that what happened to Claudette. So she can't do nothing. She can't say nothing. If she willing, she know it's wrong. She got to go with the flow. Because she know they'll get rid of she. You hear, Kadaki? I'll continue to expose them day in, day out.
Carla, thank you for holding.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. Let me deal with a little bit with America who I know about where I living for years. Jagdio gets secret for American government and American government gets secret for Jagdio. When they go prove to me that they not get secret for it is when them come and I where's Jagdio. Otherwise than that, let me move off and this America get interest. America get interest in them dollar and cent and the black gold. What American did with that young black sister, I feel she pain, yes. But they should realize Jagdio party. He said plain, my party is for Koli party. So if you come in, you have to do dirty works and feel the pain for all the rest of his police supporters. The American government just do what they normally do. If they get information about you, they're going to absolutely target you and catch you when you come to here. It's one of the PPP members sell that black sister out to cover them. And it wouldn't surprise me, Jack, you do it. Because let me go back to Watercan problem. When Jack Dio was president, not alleged, Jack Dio began the office in the embassy in his time. That's why they notified Jack Dio, hey, I got a call for Canby. And Jack Dio reached out to Can, say, Can, hey, buy your hat. Go to Suriname. Make contact with Suriname. And let Suriname them straight stand for know where the building go. Tell back the American government. That's why the American government could get back to Suriname government say, hey, deport that man. You keep the rest. You don't give me, but send the plane to Trinidad. And Can did not know American invest was inside the plane sitting with him. So as the plane landed to Suriname, they grabbed him. Hey, that is Jack Dio. He loved to abuse, use, and misuse black people. It's themselves doing to that same young black. I do hope black people eyes go open up. Jack Dio is a wicked man. And I do hope nothing going to shut this country down. Black people don't have to wait for no help from outside. You have 95% is the working people in Guyana. 95% is spending power. Those two power could change government. Don't wait for opposition anymore. You self could do these things. Save more, spend less, and you will get to invest. And the last time I'm going to say, when we black people love these words, unity, support, and if black people can't live in peace and their children, Cody people cannot live in peace and their children too. This is what Flat Garden we say, we always said. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for calling, voice note.
Years before the lady.
Yes, Kalaki, man. Right now, the right time now, put a Jack there. As my friend says, Jack, they bell cut right now. Bell cut the pants and drop off right now. Themselves just or some. Men over the way just with belt or but now we get caught. Any people in the office get caught now. Because they set them for do that. Set them for rig the election. From the beginning. So now they get caught now, nothing better don't get soft. Cause I never hear Jack Day talk so nice about nothing, man. Always putting nothing down. Now you become soft to nothing. Nothing better don't take the bluff.
Caller, thank you for holding your life.
Yes, Mr. Kadaki, my dear brother. This is the second time I'm on. You know, is another thing we got to look for. And I won't rule it out. You got to look at the top hierarchy. That head won't start to roll because the PPP like that. They like the hand dirty. As soon as lead getting to them where they're going to get skin up, they start killing out some people. There's another thing we got to look at. Then we look them close. Them is bloodsucker. Them is murderers. Then we look them close. Soon as investigation moving in a direction where they got the people who do the dirty bidding, they kill them. So this is another thing we got to look for. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for your call. It's 6 minutes past the 9 o'clock. Oh, it's time for me to go. I have one voice note here.
Kadaki, I forgot to tell you this. That woman, it was said by somebody who was close to her, right, that she is the person that handles PPP finances, right? And she's also a very close confidant of Jack Deere. Very, very close confidant of Jack Deere. He never put one of them there to handle the finances of the party like that.
Well. Time will tell. It's 6 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. You've been tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. Thank you for tuning in. Join Dr. David Hines tonight for Politics 101. Certainly join me tomorrow morning once more for another program of Guyanese Morning Time. Tomorrow morning, the news is so dynamic. You might have one plan and then something else comes up so you don't get to deal with it. I wanted, since last week, I got the information of the spy agency. But it was already Friday, I think, when that information came to me. So I couldn't discuss it with you then. And this morning, I can't discuss it with you yet. So hopefully tomorrow morning, we're going to talk about this spy agency, which is going to usurp a whole lot of roles of the Guyana Police Force and the Guyana Defense Force. And we're also going to talk about this man, Badri, or whatever he named, a good friend of Sarah Lynch, and who is the highest bidder for the Marriott Hotel. You'll be surprised to know, like I said earlier, that this man was placed before the Securities Council, the SEC, in the United States of America for fraudulent behavior. Let me just call it that. Right? He's described as a quote unquote influencer, a negotiator of sorts. And so the question you must keep in mind when we talk about him tomorrow or whenever is whether or not he was just negotiating for Sarah Lynch, being a front man for Sarah Lynch or whoever else. The other thing is it possible that Sarah Lynch could be engaging in this corrupt transaction to get the goods on the PPP that they are corrupt? And so that she can report to her bosses? I don't know. I'm just asking these things. But it's 8 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Do have a good day. I'm reminding you that on the 15th, before I leave, I'm reminding you that on the 15th of July is when we are going to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of Kams TV and my jubilee. We have a 3-course dinner. We have a dance. We have a live band. We will have a good evening together. It's just $10,000 for attendance. If you want table specials, you can call us and order table specials. We'll ensure you get those at a good price also. But start reserving your tickets because the venue can hold so much and no more. If you're overseas, you want to show support, you can buy a ticket for a local, sponsor a local to come and so on. Right? So keep that in mind. Don't lose the date. It's the 15th of July. Have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow morning. Join Dr. Hines this evening. And remember, make some money. Use your skills. You don't have to go selling yourself, wearing a red t-shirt for 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, simply because, according to the boys, you got to eat. You got to eat the bread. Right? Put yourselves in positions that you can bake your own bread and that you can eat as many bread as you want for as long as you want. It might appear challenging and difficult. There are those of us who know the challenges, but we still, as we say, band our belly and we do right. Not only by ourselves and families, but by our communities. I encourage you to do the same thing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.